Do you remember your childhood bedroom? Was it cool? No? Was it a medieval dungeon where a man with the plague came down to give you your one piece of bread for the week as you scratch at the cold stone walls hoping to one day see the sun and live in a bedroom that has a CSI crime lab in it? Yeah? Well then I've got the show for you. My name is Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul.
But you could just call me Butter. Today, I'm taking a trip down memory lane to talk about a show from my childhood. That's like 80% of my content, but this one has a bit more of a story to it. A little over 4 years ago when I was driving to a doctor's appointment, I was flashbanged by an image of this show I had seen when I was a kid. It's hard to describe. It was a couple of those hanging egg chairs, but they weren't normal. They were clear plastic and they were like blue and green inside this dark room. It sounds kind of creepy, and yeah, it was. I was terrified. Ever since then, I have struggled to find any information on where this shot could have come from. I mean, I had practically nothing to go off of. Until internet sweetheart Scott Kramer posted a video on a little home renovation show called Trading Spaces. Earlier this year, he talked about how this show had some really ugly and upsetting reveals that genuinely harmed people's well-being. And while that video is really good, link in the description, go check it out after this, it reawakened something in me. That shot of the hanging chairs gained more context. It was two people hanging them up in another team's room. And so, like a sleeper agent hearing its code word, I began scouring the internet to find out which episode had these chairs in it. But that search came up empty too. It wasn't until a few weeks ago that I remembered. It wasn't two adults building the room. It was two kids. One quick Google search and I had all that I needed. Trading Spaces Boys vs. Girls is an edutainment spin-off of its parent show, Trading Spaces, in which two boys remodel a girl's room and two girls remodel a boy's room. It aired on Discovery Kids, later known as The Hub, Hub Network, and currently Discovery Family. By the way, I hope saying The Hub opened your mindscape a bit because reading it on the wiki did the same thing for me. This show was a lot weirder than I remember. The premise of it is pretty simple. There are two teams of two, one with two boys and one with two girls. These two teams spend 2 days remodeling one of the other team's bedrooms without knowing what the other team is doing in theirs. Okay, maybe not that simple. And also it doesn't stop there. Early on, they had a gimmick where the kids pick something gross or embarrassing to make the other team do as part of a mid-episode challenge. Those can range from doing laundry to cross-dressing. They don't actually do these punishments. At least I don't think so. They show a very small performative segment of it and then just kind of brush it aside. They changed it to something else later, but I feel like it'd just be easier to show you a full episode. And hey, who knows? Maybe I'll be able to pick up a few pointers for my bedroom. Because it's bad. So this show intros with a very colorful collage of concepts that make up this show, introducing the designers and carpenters, the host, and an out-of-place, lots of money slide that, unlike the original show, has no real bearing on the episode. In the original Trading Spaces, it's a lot more of a cinch point on the episode. The designers often talk about their own saving methods, going through trash and their own supply just to kind of beat that budget. But in this show, it means nothing. They draw up a design and then they build it. Although to be fair, practically everything they make is plywood and paint. From what they show in the episodes, they don't go out and buy furniture or sort through a bunch of different rich fabrics. They just kind of build it all on the spot. And it really does just look like $100 worth of wood from Home Depot. We're introduced to our two teams, Sam and his twin brother Jake, and Hannah and her best friend Colleen. The way that the original show is formatted, you have two couples who trade spaces. But in this version, they can't remake 4 separate bedrooms. So most of the time, two kids get this really awesome, cool new space, and the other two get nothing. But in this episode, the boys are twins who share a room. So the only person who loses out is Colleen. She seems like a good sport in this, but I can only imagine how much going home after this would have stung. Something that appeared after the second season is the intro challenge, which I'm sure was put in to drum up excitement and action. And since this is the mid-2000s and Nickelodeon was all the rage, these challenges almost always consist of different tasks involving goo. They used to use building materials like tools and screws to fit the theme, but it's a lot harder to stimulate kids without flashy, colorful slime. The girls win a competition where they slide down a shitty slip and slide and pull paintbrushes out of a pool. All of the challenges feel really cheap and not well thought out at all. The prize for winning is a pair of whistles that will summon a group of creepily silent people wearing painting uniforms that will do anything they're instructed to do. These are the people that I fear will come out of my closet at night to paint my room neon green. It is a completely rational fear, and I have to check that closet every single night. They introduce their designs to their respective designer and Carpenter Duo, and start with the basics. Clearing out the room and getting some paint on the walls. The themes of this episode are pretty well defined. The boys love drive-in theaters, and Hannah is an avid horseback rider, so an old western theme fits pretty well. And to get some inspiration, they actually take the twins out to a ranch to ride horses. The girls don't get to go out and see a movie though, they just look at a car for a second. Fucking Colleen stays losing. It's after this that they completely devastate one of the boys while making movie posters.
What kind of movies do you think Jake and Sam would be in?
Sam, probably, definitely a comedy. And Jake, I don't know for Jake.
Oh, Sam? No, super funny. Deserves to be in a comedy film. He's the funniest guy I've ever met. Jake? I don't know, like a documentary because of how fucking boring he is. You know what, Colleen? You can get a point for that one. That was pretty fucking cold. Anyway, it's goop time. Again. Challenge 2 is just another variation of something with goo mixed in for no reason, but this one has a choice for the winners. You could choose the Labor Savers again, or a clue box which contains a hint as to how your room is being remodeled. Obviously, the best choice is the group of helpers that let you skip the busy work, and most kids do end up taking them because they're the right choice. But every time somebody picks the clue box, they get a hint that gives nothing away. In this episode, the girls choose the box, and in it are a couple of rocks, which has almost nothing to do with the pet room that the boys made for her. The walls were painted with a similar color to the rocks. In another, this girl gets an airplane for her fashion studio. Runway was the connection. Nobody is making that connection, you sick, twisted fuck. So at this point, they're building the rooms and all the furniture and adding specific touches here and there. And they often show the kids learning how to craft certain things, like sewing a quilt, making posters, cutting wood. But obviously, and not to take away from the glam of edited television, the kids don't actually really help build the rooms. They're kids. They wouldn't be able to build this room in 2 days without breaching into child labor laws. I found a Reddit post from one of the contestants talking about her experience on Trading Spaces Boys vs. Girls, which was posted this year. It's a little weird to me that all of these things keep aligning this year, but whatever. On the Blunder Years subreddit, a place for you to mock your childhood youth as if you were the only cringy 13-year-old in existence, user MuffinLady90 posted about her fashion boutique bedroom, fit with a high heel chair, horrifying mannequin lamps, and a bed that takes up 80% of the floor space. At least it was comfortable. But I think her cousin, who was the recipient of the other bedroom in the episode, got it much worse. First of all, they gave him a Murphy bed, which the more I watch both versions of these shows, the more I realize how much they just love throwing a Murphy bed where it doesn't belong. They made his whole theme GarageBand, but he didn't play, so they ended up selling off all the instruments that took up half the room. And worst of all, they put a garage door and the back half of a car in it, that of course they threw out immediately. The real reason I bring any of this up is because of the most interesting part of her experience to me, the 2 days of filming. Apparently, they didn't help at all unless it was for the camera. We told them what we liked, interests, colors, and they took it from there. Any of the work we did was for filming. They had a whole team of carpenters, painters, etc. We just sat around until they wanted to film. It was fun though. For some reason, I thought I was going to continue to be friends with the designers and hosts because they were so sweet. That didn't happen for obvious reasons. But the craziest comment was buried deep in the replies. I'm also going to read this verbatim. How shitty was the construction finishes for the camera? Actually, surprisingly great. Because there wasn't a $1,000 budget like the original one had, most of the furniture was bought ahead of time instead of hastily made. For example, because my parents had to pay taxes on the cost of the room, we saw the receipts. My room cost upwards of $25,000. The bed alone was custom and $9,000. I got Lily Pulitzer's new spring line of clothes, shoes, and purses. If you were gonna be on this show, the kids version was the way to go. What the actual fuck? That's crazy, right? A $9,000 bed? Everything they show in the edit is just wood and nails. $9,000. It also kind of confirms that you have to be a certain class or higher if you wanted to be on this show. Sorry to all the dungeon dwellers, this one isn't actually for you. Anyway, I'm not trying to ruin the magic for anyone looking back with nostalgia. I just personally think the aftermath is such an interesting part of these types of shows. Home renovation, kitchen nightmares, bar rescue, shows that have people sign up to have a part of their lives changed. Same thing with game shows. I'm so fascinated with what happens to people after they win a boatload of money on them. Like, what did you do with that money? Did you invest, or did you use that 30 minutes of screen time to springboard yourself into a new career? Or are you back to your 9 to 5 after spending all 100 grand on 238 life-size Lucario plushies? You freaky little weirdo. Sorry for the tangent, I just thought that post was interesting. Back to the show. They start to bring all the big pieces into the room, and with that, time's up. The little montage they do is so funny to me, and I cannot place why.
Get out of the way! Time's up!
And here we are, the big reveal. For the boys' room, they've got car-themed beds with storage underneath, a very nice looking couch, and a projector screen to play movies on. Dude, if I had that as a kid, I would have watched so many movies. The worst thing about it is probably the desk. It's shaped like a concession stand, but it's pretty impractical. There's not that much table room, the chairs look so-so, and there's no storage for actual supplies. Overall though, this is peak living as a kid, so I'm sure they probably enjoyed it. Let's check up on Hannah's room. It's a whole town, I guess. They've got fake buildings in there. Why? Like, it's impressive, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's kind of awkward to have your bedroom be the outside of a dusty town, you know? The biggest aspect of this room is the giant moving wagon bed, which is pretty neat, and they talked about that a bit. But they also talked about this pretty shitty desk. It folds up from the wall right in front of the door. Not very feng shui, I would guess. Also, they did saloon doors for the bedroom door. Imagine walking into a house with regular, like, wooden interior doors, and you turn the corner to see just so much color coming out of the gaps of a room, separated by two blue saloon doors. That's some crazy shit. There is no way they kept those. The cactus dresser can stay though. I'm all for that. Right there. Kind of like the couch in the other room or the high heel chair in that fashion boutique room. They never mention this dresser in the whole episode, but it takes up so much space in the room. I know they have a lot to cram in that 22 minutes of airtime, but it's just like, where did that come from, you know? The last thing I want to mention is the parent reactions that they show at the credits of every episode. In this episode, it was pretty tame. It was just, whoa, this is your room now? That's so cool. But oftentimes you can definitely see they're like, wow. What? And that's Trading Spaces Boys vs. Girls. Truth be told, I didn't think I was gonna make a video on this one. It just seemed like an odd fit for my channel, and I really don't want to flood my videos page with a bunch of, hey, do y'all remember that? Y'all remember when that was on TV? That's crazy stuff. But this one had a story. A story left without a conclusion. Because this show is considered to be lost media. And even some of the earlier episodes that have been posted are in, we'll say rough quality. I wanted to talk about the episode where Daryl Sabara and Alexa Vega from Spy Kids show up and be the partners to two siblings, but the quality of that episode looks... Less than half of this show has resurfaced online. And there's a reason why I haven't shown you an actual image of those chairs. Because that episode, whichever one it may be, is currently lost. So, unfortunately, that mental image of those two stupid chairs will haunt me indefinitely. I'm gonna leave this video on two notes. One, if you have any tapes or personal recordings, anything having to do with this show, let me know. I'm not personally well versed in finding lost media, but if I can use what bit of platform I have to help find at least one episode of this show, I'll take it. Email me at my ideas and requests email in the description, because it does mean a lot to me. And two, while I'm on the topic of lost media, I'm gonna shout out another hunt going on. I was gonna save this for whenever I did my next Cubo video, but I feel like it fits pretty well here anyway. There's a group of folks looking for another lost media show, the Zula Patrol, which used to air on the over-the-air channel Cubo, which I sometimes talk about. They have a Discord that I'll link down below with a spreadsheet with all the missing episodes that they have. But if you have any information or just want to join the hunt, feel free to go check it out. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go sit in my activity corner and think about every nook and cranny that a labor saver could crawl out of and suck my soul out of my body very, very painfully.